You've seen those eyes before, haven't you? Not here, not now, but somewhere blurred between sleep and memory. Maybe in a dream that tightened your chest like a vice, maybe in a painting your gaze refused to abandon, or in a silence so thick it rang like a siren in your ears. Her laughter doesn't just echo, it haunts. It carries the weight of something ancient, masquerading as innocence, like a melody once sacred, now weaponized. When she turns away, do not mistake it for shyness. It is not retreat, it is design. Every glance, every stillness, every breath is orchestrated. Her softness isn't granted by nature. It's engineered with precision, like silk hiding a dagger. It's like frost disguising a pit. You think she waits for you to approach, to claim her. But no, she waits to unravel you. Slowly, sweetly, righteously. You will offer all that you are. She will look you in the eye and whisper that it was fate. You'll ask for honesty, for something real. She'll respond with a riddle. She never lies. Why would she? A lie can be traced. But the truths she buries are lethal. She doesn't lure. She reflects, magnifies your need until it becomes unbearable. You believe you found her. You haven't. You've only stumbled into the echo of a performance, into the afterglow of a smile that never belonged to joy, but to a wound pretending to heal. She doesn't enter your life like a person. She enters like a crack across glass Sudan, fracturing, irreversible, a disruption mistaken for fate. You don't fall in love with her. You fall into her, into the hollow she exposes in your world, the aching vacuum her presence reveals. What you call desire is not desire. It is gravity. The pull of your emptiness, recognizing itself in hers. And you don't crave her for what she gives. You crave her for what she conceals, for the artful way she never lets you touch the center. She smiles, and you tell yourself it's warmth. But what you face is something colder than truth, something preserved, untouched by seasons. She does not hide. She is veiled, and the difference is everything. Hiding suggests shame. A veil is power.
She doesn't invite you behind it.
She circles you around it again and again until you forget you ever wanted to see beneath it. She listens when you speak not to hear you, but because silence cloaks her in false innocence. She is not a liar. A liar must remember the truth. She has discarded it. She performs sincerity with the precision of a seasoned actress. And when tears fall, do not think they are for you. They are not. They are for the role she must keep playing to remain untouched. What is this role? Not quite victim, not quite villain? Something more elusive? Something liminal? She exists. In the chasm between saint and siren, she demands your awe like someone helpless, and your obedience like someone divine. And you, bewildered, mesmerized, comply as though it were sacred duty to worship the one who confounds you. You see her? Suffering and mistake it for purity. But it is strategy. Suffer in public is to disarm. She bleeds not out of fragility, but to become untouchable. You offer her truth, and she calls it cruelty. You offer her stability, and she calls it control. You offer her devotion, and she calls it entitlement. There is no victory here, only sacrifice. Her affection is not gifted. It is dispensed, rationed, measured with the precision of a surgeon, just enough to keep you reaching, forever unsatisfied. And in this reaching, in this endless hunger, you confuse longing for love. ... A mistake. You may only recognize when you're already too far gone. You tell yourself she is deep, mysterious, wounded, but have you ever questioned why you believe that? What if the depth you see is just your own reflection, echoing back from an empty chamber? What you name as depth is not hurt, is the sound of your own hope bouncing off her hollow. What you call mystery is simply her silence, her refusal to meet you halfway, and the wound you imagine, the one you think you can heal. That is not a scar from Panit, is a blade she wields. She learned long ago that suffering is currency, and she spends it with ruthless accuracy. With each sigh, each look of quiet ache, she purchases sympathy, attention, power. You imagine you're making progress with her, peeling back her layers one by one. You believe you're proving your worth, that you're winning her over through patience and love, but you are not a conqueror. You are an offering, a volunteer, a willing sacrifice placed on the altar of her reflection. She does not conquer. She doesn't need to. She simply exists to be seen. And once she is observed, the game begins. You are not seeing her. You're seeing your own desire dressed in her silhouette, cloaked in curves and softness. Eyes land on her. She steps into her role. She performs fragility, so you'll become her protector. She performs restraint, so you'll pursue her endlessly. She performs passion so convincingly that when she pulls away, you begin to doubt your own mind, your own worth. And yet, despite it, all you stay. Why? Because beneath every layer of logic, beneath all your rationalizations and boundaries, you are still a creature of instinct. You crave softness, long for a place to fall, to surrender. A home, a gaze that whispers, you are enough. She is not that gaze. She is not the shelter. She is not the womb. She is the hunger. She is the gaze that consumes. She does not complete you, she dismantles you. And tragically, you thank her for it. You write sonnets to your own undoing and call them love. You romanticize the wreckage she leaves behind. But know this, she does not love. She selects. She observes. She doesn't seduce out of feeling, but because she knows exactly where to place the hook. This is the paradox you live in. She breathes life into you, only to siphon it away. She doesn't just awaken your masculinity, she softens it, drains. It folds it neatly into something docile. And when you are reduced to a shell, a man bent beneath her silence, she tells you you've changed. She says she misses the man you once were. It's a man with sharp edges, a roaring fire, untamed defiance. But that man? He was erased by every sigh she used as a weapon, every "I'm fine" that sent you scrambling to repair what was never broken. She never wanted to be rescued. She wanted to witness your desperate attempts. She resents you not because you didn't understand her, but because you tried to. She needed the enigma to survive. She needed you lost in the maze of her design. Because the moment your eyes begin to clear, the moment you get close to the truth, she pulls away. Intimacy does not frighten her because it is intense. It terrifies her because it exposes how little she truly offers. To be seen is to be measured. To be measured is to be defined, confined, finite. And to be finite is to become vulnerable in a way she cannot control. So she spins illusions, cloaks herself in riddles made of emotion and confusion. She becomes the mirror you drown in, the dream you mistake for destiny. She speaks not from truth, but from calculation. She tells you what you want to hear in your language, not hers. She adopts your rhythm, your intensity, your longing. She mimics your pace so seamlessly that you believe you've found your match, your mirror, your home. But what you found is not companionship. It is a silence that has perfected the art of echo. A blank canvas that learned to reflect your colors back to you. Not because she feels them, but because she knows what you need to see. You tell yourself this is love, but it is not love. It is reflection, only the parts of you that benefit. Her mask are ever returned. You may call her cruel, may accuse her of emotional violence, but she would only raise an eyebrow, perhaps laugh. She is not cruel. She is careful. She is precise. Every interaction, every moment of vulnerability, every softness is offered not freely, but strategically. It's just enough affection to keep you tethered. It's just enough absence to keep you reaching. You think she withholds herself out of fear of betrayal, of being hurt. But that's not true. She withholds because it grants her leverage. Control is her true pursuit. Control over closeness, over connection, over truth itself. And if, by some miracle of clarity, your eyes begin to adjust, if you start to see behind the veil, if you catch a glimpse of the mechanism behind the magic, she will not argue. She will not rage. Instead, she will collapse. Her strength will vanish, as if on cue, she will cry. She will call you unkind, accuse you of cruelty. She will press on your guilt like a bruise. And you conditioned, guilt-ridden, weary you, will kneel again. It's not because you were wrong, but because you were taught that discomfort is your failure. You will apologize for seeing too clearly. Will beg for the return of the illusion, but it does not return. Not because she has changed, but because you have. Illusion demands blindness to survive. Once seen for what it is, it cannot be unseen. It dies quietly, leaving behind something far less enchanting. In its place remains her smile. Still sweet, still soft, but stripped of enchantment, no longer magical, no longer divine. Now only human, only tired, only strategic. And that is when understanding strikes you like thunder across still water. She never wanted to be conquered. She wanted to be obeyed. She never wanted honesty. She wanted power disguised as love. She never truly wanted you. She wanted what you were willing to give up in your quest to keep her. Now that you are empty, drained, spent, she will say you're no longer the man she fell in love with. And she is not wrong. You are not. You are the man who saw the wound behind her smile and finally chose to walk away. She tells you she wants to be led. She says it softly, with eyes lowered, but look again. Her gaze betrays her. There is no submission in her posture, only choreography. The bow of her head is not surrender. It is a trigger, a signal. The hush in her voice is not trust. It is bait, laid carefully, waiting for your bite. The surrender she offers is not an invitation to intimacy, but a move in a longer game. You see her kneel and imagine loyalty. But it is not loyalty, it's camouflage. A clever adaptation designed to survive your desire. The predator hides within the prey. You mistake her stillness for peace, her gentleness for virtue, her silence for depth. But what if these are only costumes? You have been trained generation after generation to revere the quiet woman, the yielding woman, because no one told you that yielding is often a test. That silence can be a carefully laid snare for the unsuspecting. She rehearses obedience with the discipline of a seasoned actress, not because she believes in your guidance, but because she wants control without responsibility, to command without being questioned. She wants to direct the story from behind the curtain, never stepping onto the stage where the consequences are real. Every act of softness is embedded with intent. When she asks what you think, she is not seeking insight. She is studying your lines. When she says she trusts you, it is not confession, it is rehearsal. And if you fail to deliver your part, if you miss your cue, if you step out of the script even slightly, she will not confront you. She will fade. Slowly, without warning, like the last light slipping behind a cloud. She will withdraw her approval like a god withholding sunshine, without explanation, without apology. One day you will speak, and she will not respond. One day you will touch her, and she will not soften. She will grow cold and quiet and distant, untouchable. You will ask what you did wrong. She will say nothing. But still, the punishment will continue. Not to correct, but to condition. Not to heal, but to train. She doesn't want you broken. She wants you bent. Powerful, yes, but domesticated. Strong, but manageable. Passionate, but always within limits. She doesn't want to be conquered. She wants to be entertained, to be the gravitational force around which your life spins. To be the reason behind your discipline, your effort, your obedience, not to her presence, but to her absence. Because her absence becomes the leash. She will allow you to lead, but only if she chooses the destination. And when you arrive, proud and worn, she will shrug and say, I never wanted to come. This is not surrender. This is theater. A drama, where submission is scripted by her and performed by you. A stage where your strength exists only as long as it pleases her. Your dominance is conditional, fragile, entirely dependent on her mood, and still you believe this is love. You believe her praise is real, but it isn't praise. It is payment, currency, a tool. Her "you're such a man" is not admiration. Reinforcement. Cue from the audience to the actor. reminding him to stay in character. And the moment you deviate, when you step out of the role, when you express a truth, she did not write the lights dim. The stage crumbles. You are no longer the hero. You are now the threat, because you were never her partner. But how seductive the performance is, isn't it? The rituals of closeness, the gestures of submission, the way she looks up at you with wide, searching eyes, as though begging for guidance, for strength, for protection. And you, hungry for meaning, starved for purpose, aching to be needed, you respond. You build, you provide, you sacrifice. You cast yourself as her protector, her knight, her compass. And somewhere along the way, you forget the truth. She never asked for a man. She asked for a mirror, someone to reflect her fantasy back to her, flawlessly. Someone to play the part she wrote before you ever entered the scene. You think she loves how you hold her, but she only loves how she feels when she is held. That difference is everything. She does not truly want you. She wants the experience of herself through you. You're not her partner. You are her echo chamber, her emotional theater, her invisible servant dressed in shining armor. And if ever you dare to remove that armor, if you show her the real man beneath, exhausted, vulnerable, scarred, she will flinch. Not because you are weak, but because you have broken the spell. And she cannot stand the sight of anything that does not confirm her illusion of control. She pretends to trust you, but her trust lies elsewhere. She trusts only in her power to disappear. She knows that if you lead her down the wrong path, she can vanish without confrontation. She won't need to scream. She won't call you names. She won't raise her voice. She will simply withdraw her touch, withdraw her warmth, withdraw her very presence, and in place of cruelty, she will give you coldness. In place of punishment, she will give you silence. Silence so calculated, so hollow, so exacting it teaches you to obey before she ever has to punish. Is not love. This is power wearing the mask of devotion. It speaks softly, it touches gently, but beneath the tenderness lies control, coiled, calculated, quiet. You believed that her submission was a gift. It was not. It was a tactic, a well-rehearsed maneuver. She understands deeply how men ache to be needed. She understands the fragile grace of masculine pride when it feels honored, when it believes. It is being respected, and she feeds this illusion with expert precision, not out of reverence, not out of affection, but because usefulness is her goal. Keeping you useful means keeping you believing. She smiles when you speak of legacy, of mission, of protection as if your purpose lights a fire in her. But inside, she waits. She waits for the moment you grow tired, for the crack to show, for the tear to form, for the weight to buckle your shoulders. Because when you falter, when you finally weep or confess or collapse, she consumes it. Not with malice, not with cruelty, but with instinct, like fire consuming oxygen, like hunger finding a meal. It is not evil, it is nature, it is appetite. And when you finally break, when the storm inside you overtakes your posture of controls, she will shift. Maybe she'll disappear. Maybe she'll transform. She may become motherly, not to comfort, but to ascend, to elevate herself above you, emotionally, psychologically. In her eyes, your vulnerability does not bring closeness. It brings collapse. You become small, lest she will never unsee it. She may still smile. She may kiss you sweetly. She may say everything is fine, but something inside her changes. Quietly, irrevocably. The balance is broken. You have fallen from the pedestal she built only to admire you from a distance. And once you are no longer towering, no longer untouchable, her interest begins to drain. Not because she is cruel, because she cannot help it. She is drawn to strength, but only when she can't reach it. The moment she possesses it, it ceases to thrill. The moment she tames it, it dies in her hands. She does not want the loyal dog. She wants the dragon untamed, circling, terrifying. She wants the idea of danger, not the burden of handling it. She wants your masculinity as a symbol, not as a presence. She craves the performance, not the person. And you oblige, again and again. You return to the stage. because the applause is intoxicating, because the silence she leaves behind is unbearable, because without her gaze, without her approval, don't know who you are anymore. You tell yourself she changed, but she didn't. She simply stopped acting. You say she loved you. She didn't. She loved the game. The control. She loved being the sun around which your entire sky revolved. And the moment you stopped spinning for her, she grew bored. You were never the prize. You were the proof that even the strongest man could be bent. Shaped, softened, turned into a servant with a touch, with a glance, with a whisper. And yet you wonder where it all went wrong. You scour books. You ask your friends. You look in the mirror and whisper blame into your own chest. You wonder if you weren't dominant enough, stoic enough, man enough. But the truth is far less poetic. You were an actor in her theater, and the script reached its final line. The curtain fell. She bowed. You begged for an encore. But the theater is empty now. The lights have gone out, and she has already found someone new, a new script, a new stage, new name to call out in the dark. You were not the first, and you will not be the last. There is no closure, no final truth, no grand revelation. There is only repetition, the same ritual, the same cycle. It's different names, different costumes, a different tune, and you. If you do not wake up, if you do not break the trance, you will return. Not because you still love her, but because the stage, the spotlight, the silence between acts terrifies you. Because without the audience, you are no one. Without the applause, the spotlight, the invitation to step into a role, your identity dissolves. So you wait. You wait for the next smile, the next script, the next cue to re-enter the theater of illusion. And when it arrives, dressed in warmth and wonder, you will call it love again. You'll convince yourself that this time it's different. This time it's real. And she will stand at the edge of another man she's conquered, eyes wide with practiced innocence, asking, why does no one stay? But she already knows. She feels it each and every time, in the silence that grows like a wall between her and the man who once burned for her. She notices when his gaze shifts from adoration to distance, when his voice loses its devotion, when the ritual of loving her becomes quiet, then brittle, then gone. She calls it betrayal, as she names it abandonment. She accuses him of cowardice. But deep down, beneath the noise of her story, she knows it is something far more terrifying. It is recognition. It is the moment a man sees the abyss beneath her gestures, the vacant chill behind her warmth, the mechanical grace behind her affection. And once he sees, truly sees, he cannot stay. Not because he is cruel, not because he stops caring, but because he is alivened. No living thing can long survive the presence of what does not reciprocate. Life, she has always mistaken hunger for depth. Her longing is not a portal to the soulite, is a signal of absence. She believes the ache she carries proves she feels deeply, but longing is not proof of soul. More often, it is a sign of something missing entirely. She does not crave love. She craves sensation, and once the sensation fades, once the spark cools, the drama settles, the novelty wears thin so to does her attention. Her sweetness evaporates, her need dissolves. She tells herself she wants to feel, but what she really wants is to be filled over and over again. She's not seeking connection. She's fleeing stillness, because stillness would require her to face what lives inside her and the emptiness inside her. It has no name because it has no origin. It was not caused. It simply is. So she becomes a collector, a gatherer of intensity. She feeds on the new, the dramatic, the tragic. She confuses chaos with meaning. She does not crave love to feel loved. She craves adoration because adoration makes her reliving. If only for a moment, and someone worships her, she feels held together, seen, validated. Not from vanity, but from terror. The terror of fading. The terror of being no one without reflection, but it never lasts. Adoration is a fragile thing. It requires innocence to endure. And she cannot stay innocent for long. Her discontent begins. To infect the stage, her hunger warps the script. She wants the man to make her feel, but the feeling never lasts. It always fades, and when it does, she turns on him. Quietly, subtly, she whispers to herself, he wasn't enough, not dangerous enough, not loving enough, not mysterious enough. She rewrites the ending so she does not have to look inward. She tells herself he grew cold, that he stopped trying, that he failed. But it was never about him. It is the structure itself, the design of her need that crumbles, because it contradicts itself. She wants him close, but not inside. She wants him strong, but not separate. She wants to be desired, but never possessed. Every man fails not because he lacks something, but because the role is impossible, and yet she does not stop. She keeps casting, keeps auditioning, keeps hoping that next time, the illusion will hold. And what of you, the man caught in her cycle? He entered her world not with manipulation, but with sincerity. You came with honesty, with conviction, believing perhaps a bit too innocently that your presence would be enough, that your calm would anchor her, that your loyalty would soften her edges, that your love, steady and whole, would finally warm the places inside her that had always felt cold. But love is not what she craves. She craves reflection. She longs to see herself, her fantasy self mirrored in your eyes. And the moment you stop reflecting it, the moment you deviate from the image she projected, you become a stranger. Not because you changed, but because you no longer serve the story, she said. You changed. But what really changed was her grip on the script. Her ability to shape you began to slip. Once, she looked at you with what seemed like reverence, but it wasn't reverence. It was need disguised as awe, a hunger mistaken for admiration. Once that hunger was satisfied, once she consumed the safety you gave, it turned. It soured. She began to resent you. Then she grew indifferent. Then came the criticism. You gave her security, and she used it to explore her discontent. You built her a home, and she called it a cage. You gave her truth, and she branded it as cruelty. Placed your soul in her hands, and she said it was too much. Too deep. Too real, and so, like so many before you, you became the villain in her memory. Another name on her list of men who just didn't understand. Another shadow etched onto the wall of her suffering. She collects them not to mourn them, but to validate herself, to confirm her belief that she is always the one left behind. Always too much. Always the misunderstood one. This belief comforts her. Tragedy gives her identity, makes her wounds feel regal, like thorns on a crown. It lets her pain feel poetic, even holy. And yet beneath that performance, behind all the lines she rehearses, there is only one thing. Silence. A silence so deep, so bottomless, it terrifies her. It is not the silence of peace, the silence of not knowing who she is when no one is watching, of not knowing how to exist without a reaction. She cannot sit in this emptiness. So she fills it with drama, with affection that vanishes by sunrise, a temporary devotion that burns out before it warms anything. And you became her. Distraction? Her solution for the moment. Her shield from facing herself. She told you she feared being hurt. Well, that wasn't the real fear. Her true fear is being seen, not seen as beautiful, not as desirable, not even as vulnerable, but truly seen, beyond the mask, beyond the charm, into the fractured center of who she is. When the performance slips, when her guard drops, what remains is something far less enchanting, unsure, fragmented, restless without end. You caught glimpses of it. In the way her gaze drifted in quiet moments, in the laugh that didn't quite reach her eyes, in the stillness that felt more like absence than peace, and it shook you because you realized no amount of love could ever fill that void. Still, you tried. All men do. Some offer gifts, some give sacrifice, some choose silence, some use force, some offer worship, but all of them fail not because they were weak, but because they were trying to finish a story that was never written to end. They were trying to answer a question that was never meant to be resolved. She is the hunger. She is the longing. She is the mystery with no solution. And if you stay too long, you become the mystery too. You begin to lose yourself. You forget your name, your purpose, your shape. You start to revolve around her absence, orbiting a center that was never meant to hold anything. You thought you could save her. You thought you could be the one who stayed. But she does not want saving. She wants the struggle, the tension. Rise and fall. She wants the illusion of redemption, not its cost. True healing would require surrender and honest laying down of arms. But to surrender would mean letting go of the one thing she clings to the most, the power of her wound. And her wound, more than any love, any man, or any memory, is sacred to her, is the altar upon which she builds her meaning. Thread she weaves into every story she tells about herself. Without it, what would remain? Only a girl bear, unmasked, standing alone in a quiet room, unsure why love always feels like suffocation. You left. Or maybe she made you leave. In the end, it makes no difference. The result is the same. She will rewrite the script. She will forget the quiet truths and remember only the version that flatters her myth. A myth where she was the wounded one, the abandoned one, the misunderstood soul. And you will carry the scar. It's not because she broke you, but because you believed, because you hoped. Because for one brief, blinding moment, you thought you had touched something real. But there was nothing there. Only the echo of your own need, reverberating back at you from a hollow space she herself cannot name. And now, finally you understand. The pain you feel is not the pain of loss, but the pain of disillusionment. It is the crumbling of a fantasy, the slow erosion of a dream you were never meant to inhabit. It is the death of a role that was never truly yours to play. You are not broken. We're waking up, waking from the theater, from the illusion. From the belief that love must be earned through your disappearance, that devotion means self-erasure, that your strength must be dulled, domesticated, in order to be loved. Let her weep. Let her perform. Let her dress the stage once more with fresh lines and new faces. Let her cast her next actor in the same worn role. But you are no longer her audience. You have stepped behind the curtain. You have heard the silence beneath the applause. And though that silence still lingers in your bones, though it may haunt your quiet hours, it no longer owns you. You carry no rage, only clarity. Only the cold, hard understanding that what you loved was never really her. It was the shape of your own reflection projected onto a woman who mastered the art of mirroring, but never of being. She cannot name her emptiness, but you can name your freedom. And it begins here. She lies in bed now, beneath the same moon that once lit your sleepless nights. She reaches for the necklace you gave her not to remember you, but to remember how it felt to be desired, to be adored, to be seen through the eyes of someone who believed she held depth somewhere in the long hush of night. She wonders just briefly why it always ends the same, why love always slips away, fades, vanishes, but she does not reach. The answer, she only reaches for another mirror, another flame, another face, and far beyond her reach, you walk into the night alone, yes, but whole. The wind no longer carries her name, only the faint scent of endings. And as your figure fades into the dark, there is no closure, no grand finale, no revenge, only the soft echo of a question left unanswered. What if she was never there at all?